Hello and welcome to week 5 of building my RPG in Godot. For those who don't know, I'm building a small vertical slice of an RPG. It's a simple, complete version of the game with all the core systems in place. That being said, let me show you what I did this week. This week I focused on getting transitions working. So here we have this room with this one Godot dude and this bed. And if I go down here, I will be whisked away to another room that we can tell is different because Godot dude is here and he only has one action on him. And we have a whole bunch of beds. So I would call this the bedroom. Anyway, let's jump back to past me, who was planning this out, and we'll go from there. Next thing I'm setting up is scene transitions, and I went ahead and duplicated this main scene with a new room, threw in a bunch of beds and moved the Godot dude down here. I can easily distinguish which room I'm in. As far as building, I haven't built anything yet, so that's what I'm going to talk about, or some of my thoughts before I get started. My first thought is I probably need some kind of transition element here. I'll probably make a new scene that just has a collision and some basic information. Then I'm assuming I'll probably plug in here in the inspector with some export variables like the scene I'm going to transition to and the name of the marker that I'm going to target. So essentially, imagine a room with 5 exits. I need to know which one of the 5 exits I'm appearing at. And I'll probably need to worry about, like, if I come in on this tile, will it recheck that I'm in a transition zone and then send me back out and get an infinite loop of transitions? So I'm thinking if the player enters the doorway, the door will then check, is the player in my collision? And then also check, are we already doing a transition right now? And then maybe when they exit the door area, it would say that transitions are now enabled again. That way it's not duplicating. I'll probably need some kind of fade out and then load in a new target room. Find the spawn point, which in this case is my player spawn marker 2D, and then move the player to that spawn point. So that's already handled in my main GD script here. We just grab the marker 2D and then we create a new player and then add them to the scene and then set their position. So essentially whenever this room loads, it'll do that part for us. And the marker is right in front of the door here. And then we'll fade back in. There's 2 options for the player. There's the sort of the easy one that I'm doing right here, which is I go ahead and build a brand new player from this player spawn marker every time the scene loads. But in the future, it might be a good idea to have the player live outside of the main scene and just swap out the scenes that I'm going to and leave the player completely unaltered. So that's something I have to think about. So like here, for example, this map could be a scene that is inside of a larger scene, and that larger scene has the player, and then what I swap out is this map. I delete it and then pull in a new one. And that would just mean my player is always there and always set, and so I don't have to worry about stuff like inventory and stuff being rebuilt or it being slow or anything like that. But for now, I'm just going to go with this simple recreating of the player until the player recreation becomes a problem. So I'll see you on the other side of implementing this and explain what I did. Alright, so how did I achieve the transitions? Okay, first of all, I thought it would make sense to show you my event service. If you don't know from past videos, this is a singleton that is loaded as a global script and it's accessible everywhere. And I'm using this to pipe my events through because wiring them up in the scene is a big pain and sometimes even impossible. And you would need, like, for this dialogue behavior to talk to this collision shape, for example, it would have to be passed up the chain and then passed back down. And that's just a big nightmare. So I have this event service here to facilitate that easy movement of events. So in this case, we're tracking the pending spawn location here. This is basically just like where we plan to spawn it, spawn the player when you move to a new scene. This isn't the best place for it, so it may move later. Then there's this transition requested, which is whenever one of the targets for the triggers for transitioning happens, it will shoot this out and say, this is the scene we're going to, and this is the location name that we're going to in that scene. All right, now if we move over to this new transition manager, as you can see, this is a node. I throw it on a scene and then it suddenly works. And then all the triggers would be children of this transition manager. So we could have 5 or 6 entrances, whatever. And then all the triggers will be inside of here. Each trigger, I'll just go ahead and show that. Each trigger takes in the scene that you're going to and the name of the location in that scene. So that's where that configuration happens. Don't worry about adding them all because you'll be able to configure them. But here in the manager, actually the manager's really big. Let's start with the trigger because it's simpler. Over here in the trigger, as you can see, we require a collision shape here. And that is, when you touch it, that's what's going to take you out. So I'll put it here right at the entrance, not too high, just here so that when you get to the very tip, then it triggers. Inside here, we have those exports. So I did have this just as a scene, but I was getting circular references and stuff. So I moved this to a path. But yeah, the scene will be, in this case, room 2, the scene I set up earlier. Yeah, room 2, which is that one with all the beds. I have the spawn location name. In this case, I've just used player spawn for both of them, and this is extendable now. I can rename this to something else and then target it, or create a second one and then target that just by the name. Yeah, just when we load, we go ahead and hook up that signal for the collision. And then once something collides with it and it's a player, then we just fire off that event that we saw earlier with that information. Then all of the magic happens in the transition manager. So as you can see, we're listening to that event now. That event is coming from that event singleton, and it's that transition requested. And when that happens, we dive into on transition requested. So as I talked about in planning, I needed a way to prevent like constant spamming of going into the next scene. So I put this locked variable on it. So yeah, we're pulling in that scene that we're targeting and the spawn location from that event. Then we're looking to see if there's no path, like if it's empty, then that's an error. So we're going to throw that error. Then we try to load the scene here. If the scene is null, then we push another error. There's no scene. Then once we've gotten past these errors, then we're jumping into locking it and then fading out, which is that black fade that we have going on. And then we're setting the new spawn location, changing the scene. Actually, we're not setting the new spawn location. We're just saving it to that event that we showed earlier, the event service. So this is the case so that when we load into the next scene, all of this node here will be gone because it's this transition manager node. So that scene, once we transition, this is gone. So we needed to store this in a global location for the next transition manager to pick up. So that's the whole reason for this. In the planning, I talked about a different way to do this that would solve all of this, that we would have a single transition manager that's just always there. And what we're swapping out is just the map piece of this. So we'd have like sort of a parent scene to this that has a map and has a transition manager and the canvas layer and all of that stuff. And then we would just be replacing basically the map piece. But in this case, we're keeping it simple. We're just going all the way to a new scene with all this stuff duplicated inside. So we must have a persistent place to store this data, which is currently the event service, but in the future there'll probably be like a game state service. Now we assume we transition because we just... Actually, let's go ahead and look at the fade in, fade out in case you were interested in that. Simple tween code, which tween means between, like the frames between 2 points. That's an animation term. So basically you're creating a modulated fade with a black overlay. It's all created in code. There's nothing in the UI, but you could just have a black overlay that you fade in and out as well. That would work. And then the fade duration is set up here, and it's adjustable in the inspector, as well as a fade in delay. The fade in delay is just waiting. Basically, it's keeping the screen completely black for this amount of time, and then it is, for this amount of time, it is unveiling the screen or fading the black in. And then this is the backwards. We don't have a delay here. We just fade it to black and then we transition. And then of course at the end of the fade out, that's when we do that transition to the new scene. Then this create overlay. This is the thing that we're fading in and out. This is that pure black rectangle. All created in code, but maybe it's better to put in the canvas layer. Now, where does the stuff happen that's not in that manager? That stuff that makes it all work? That's here just in the main GD script that I attached to the base level of each scene right now. In here, we used to get the spawn point based on whatever the first player spawn marker 2D was, but we're no longer doing that. Instead, we're looking for the spawn point from that event service. Once we get that spawn point, then we clear it out of the event service. And then if we have a spawn point, we get the name. This is that name that we passed into the transition trigger. It's made its way all the way to here. Then we look and see if that marker 2D exists. And if it does, then we return it. And that becomes the spawn point. If for some reason this doesn't exist, then we just use the default one, player spawn. In both cases, this is player spawn because I only have one. That's actually mostly it. So I'll get that spawn point and then I set the player's position to whatever that point is. So actually maybe we'll give it a test live and hopefully nothing breaks. How about that? So first things first, I'm gonna go to my room 2 scene. I'm going to add a marker 2D and I'm going to name it the window. Actually, let's make it camel case just in case spaces are an issue. I haven't tested with that. And this marker 2D here, we'll just put it by the window. Then when we go to main script or main room over here, we're going to go ahead and put a new transition trigger right here. And we're going to add the collision shape 2D to it. And then we're going to add a simple rectangle shape 2D to it. And then we're going to move this transition trigger to here. And then I'm going to probably just going to leave it that shape. Works for me. And then what we need to do on the transition trigger 2 is set the scene path. And in this case, we're going to set it to room 2. And then set the spawn location to the window. And in theory, this should work. Let's look at room 2, double check. It is called the window. Now we're just going to run it and see if we can get that to work. Okay, let's go up to our window. Let's crawl through the window. And ta-da! We showed up at the window location. And if we go down to this trigger that exists down here, we show up at the door. If we go down again, we show up at the door again. And if we go back to our main room transition trigger that's down here, this one, and we change that to the window. Now all of them should be going to that window location. Look at that. Yep, so that is the design of the system is such that we can add new triggers easily, and we can add new spawn points easily and connect between them. Hopefully that demo showed off the power of it now that I've gone through the work to put it together. Adding spawn points is incredibly easy, and adding new triggers is incredibly easy, so now I'm set up for success for all of my scene transitions in the future. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I see my interaction videos getting a ton of love, and I'm really happy to see that people are enjoying the code deep dives and the decision making and the composition pattern. I hope to bring that powerful composition pattern to you more and more as I build this out. If you have any feedback on the game I'm building or my videos or anything in general, I'd be happy to hear it. If you're interested to follow along as I actually try to finish a game, consider subscribing. If you've enjoyed the video, a like really helps. And I'll see you guys next week.